One of the biggest hidden risks in retirement can really be long-term care and healthcare costs. We've seen that those that don't prepare for healthcare costs, it can really derail their retirement. So I want to cover some of the areas that you should consider when looking at long-term care costs, and what is one of the ways that you can really pay and help cover for some of those long-term care costs in retirement. So there's really three types of care when we're at the stage where we need long-term care. The first one is at-home care. And this is a pretty popular one because for many of us, we'd love to stay at our home if we could. And generally, it would mean someone coming out to our house 2 to 3 days a week, sometimes 5 or 6 days a week, to really help us to do the things that are just a little bit tougher to do on our own. So I would say that that is by far the most popular. We can stay in our home, we get to be around our family, but we just have care that comes out to our home. The second one is really where we start to get into assisted living. And assisted living is generally, for our clients that we've seen go into assisted living, you're pretty self-sustainable. But there's generally going to be what we call 2 of the 6 activities of daily living that you just may need some help with. And maybe that's, you just may need some help cooking or preparing your food. You may need some help, whether it's dressing, but it's generally pretty self-sustainable, but there's a few areas where you just need some help, and that's going to show up in the assisted living care. And then lastly, it's full nursing home care. This is by far the most expensive type of care. We generally see this in late stage of life, whether it's assisted living before going to nursing home care, but it could be memory care. If you have any family members that have dealt with Alzheimer's or memory care, we generally see this show up in nursing home care. But the costs to cover long-term care have only gotten more expensive over the years. There's a great study that shows right now the average care, if you just go to the middle option, which is assisted living, the average monthly cost for assisted living, so a private one-bedroom room in an assisted living facility, is about $4,500 per month. Now, that's certainly a lot of money. It's over $50,000 a year. But the problem is because of inflation, that same assisted living facility, if you fast forward about 20 years, will be almost $9,000 per month. So over $110,000 per year for long-term care. So if you ask yourself, if I'm in a long-term care facility for 4 or 5 years, that could be $500,000 in total expenses. So how do you pay for it? One of the ways that we help our clients cover their long-term care is through what's called a hybrid insurance policy. Now, there's a lot of different variations of these policies, so you want to make sure you get the right one that can potentially fit your needs based on your specific needs and goals. But one of the things that I like about hybrid insurance policies, if you look at traditional long-term care, it's kind of like car insurance. You pay premiums every month, and if you don't use it, you lose it, right? None of us want to go into a nursing home facility, but if we have to go in one, we want to make sure that we can cover for care. Here's what I like about the hybrid insurance policies. With the hybrid policies, instead of paying premiums for the rest of your life, 10, 20, 30 years, we pay premiums for a set period of time. So for example, here's an example that we did for a client, 60 years old. They're going to put $10,000 a year into this policy for only 10 years. So they know exactly how much is going in, $100,000 over that 10-year period. But it's pretty incredible what that policy can provide. So this client's 60 years old. If we look at age 85, that's about the time where we start to see some of our clients start needing some potential long-term care. At age 85, that policy will pay out over $10,000 per month for 6 years for a total benefit. You ready for this? $740,000 total benefit over that 6-year period. And this is where, if you look at this, if you put that $10,000 away, whether it's in an investment or something else, that actually equated that $740,000 to a 9% rate of return for the money that you put into this premium. But here's, I think, one of the best parts. Like most of our clients, you hope you never have to go into a long-term care facility. So if you don't go into a long-term care facility, all of the money that you put into those premiums, so that $10,000 a year for 10 years, so $100,000 that was in the policy, if you don't need the long-term care, those premiums go back to your beneficiaries, to your kids or your grandkids, as a tax-free death benefit. So if you need long-term care insurance in your lifetime, the policy can pay out. But if you don't need it, which I hope we never have to go into facilities, or at least our beneficiaries will get back the premiums that we paid. So again, preparing and planning for health insurance, for long-term care, healthcare expenses down the road, there can be a lot of question marks. there can be a lot of uncertainty. But one of my concerns right now is that with the inflation that we've seen, I think healthcare costs are only going to continue to rise from here. And if you don't have a plan that at least looks at how are we going to help cover our healthcare costs in retirement, we don't want it to be like an iceberg where you think everything's fine on the surface, but underneath you have this big concern and really something we weren't prepared for when it comes to healthcare and long-term care. So this is why at Nicholas Wealth Management, we cover 5 key areas. We look at your income planning, we look at investment planning, we look at taxes, we look at healthcare and long-term care, and we also look at your estate and legacy planning. You can't have one of those areas, you could have all 5 of those areas, because if you're not preparing and planning for healthcare, it could be the big risk that could derail your retirement.